Are you invested into blockchain and Bitcoin?
So I bought Bitcoin in 2014. So I just need all of you to eat that for a minute, okay? I love showing my Coinbase to people. They're like, fuck. I put in 25K. It's worth it. I know it. So, Marquez, listen. I think blockchain's way bigger than people realize. Like, people are fucking with it like on a Bitcoin level. Then people a little smarter on the Ethereum level. But when you understand what the blockchain is, my big thing with the blockchain is it can literally overthrow America and China and Russia. It's that powerful. It's a platform of trust, and we can do shit with each other, and everybody else is out. It's so heady, man. I understand it theoretically. I haven't spent a lot of time in it, right? But I've been spending more lately. You know, there's a lot of bullshit ICOs, get rich quick bullshit that's starting to happen. I need all the dust, thank you. I need all the dust to settle a little bit. I'm watching. You know, my favorite time is when I'm like the cobra in the grass. I loved social media like 2006, 7, 8, because I was just like creeping. I was like in there, I was watching it. Like, that's how I'm with blockchain right now. That's how I'm with AR. That's how with voice, I'm a little louder because I was in the grass 2 years ago with voice and Alexa skills and podcasts, but now I'm out. I think it's super fascinating. I think there's a lot of people that know a lot more than me, which is why I don't spit on it a whole lot, but it's big, big.
I want to ask about what's your opinion on blockchain?
I think blockchain is the technology right now that has the most potential to disrupt society. I think people are grossly underestimating what it means, what it's doing. Blockchain is creating infrastructure around trust, and trust between all of us with each other, with nobody in between, not central banks, not leasing companies, not even governments. I think that it has the potential to create the global next war because it's so big.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. What do you think?
My personal opinion.
Yeah, go ahead.
My personal opinion, I really like it. I'm really bad at listening to myself while I talk,
No worries,
so
go
I
ahead.
stop accidentally. But I like it a lot. I look
Why?
into it. I mean, I think it's a really interesting new architecture, I guess you could say.
Yep.
Because it's almost 100%. I mean, it's decentralized, so there's no one controlling it.
That's right.
And I mean, it has a lot of power. I just think I don't know how to explain it.
Do you think that China and America and Russia are going to let it see its power?
I mean, I don't think they like it, but since it's decentralized, I don't think there's any way to stop it.
Sure there is.
Can you give an example?
Sure, they can start suppressing their citizens.
Yeah, okay. I don't have a counter answer to that.
Okay. I don't either, by the way. I'm just super, the reason I'm exchanging right now is people are like, Bitcoin. Guys, get educated on what's actually happening here. Like, pay attention to the conversation we just had a minute ago. This is a big deal. I don't know either. You got something on it? Blockchain is a protocol. I guess it's an infrastructure. I don't know what people are calling it. What is it, a protocol?
It's essentially a big network which every piece of information is stored in blocks, and it's publicly viewable so everyone can see it and verify that everything is true.
And there's mining technology that creates the people
Yeah,
that
that's
stamp
the
it.
ecosystem.
The ecosystem is around miners, which are machines. It's basically, you will sell me your home in 11 years and our transaction will happen on the blockchain. Nobody else, which means all those fees in between you and me. So, I don't talk about it a lot because, as you can tell, I don't even know every terminology. I've been paying attention. I bought Bitcoin 4 years ago. I'm watching, but fuck, it's heady. I'm laughing because everyone's like, Bitcoin. I'm like, ugh. Do you know what Ethereum is? Do you know what blockchain is? Like, this is very intense. Mm-hmm. I think it's youth naivete that says Russia and China and America can't do anything about it. It is literally the thing that can undermine them.
Yeah.
They're not that interested in that.
Yeah, let me tell you about what's been happening this year that's been really interesting. Because I've been in Bitcoin now since late 16. Like, I first heard about it in 13, but didn't really do anything with it. But late 16, early 17, and I went through the spike and the bear market, which sucked. But what's been really interesting this year, what's really been happening, is this cross-section with the pandemic. So we've had this cross-section with the pandemic. A lot of people on lockdowns, a lot of companies closing, here in the UK as well in the US, and like rampant money printing by the government to be able to support furlough schemes. And a massive increase in the money supply has this relative risk of we're seeing a potential increase in inflation. So this is company, do you know MicroStrategy, the data company? Okay, so they're a data company. There's a guy runs that, Michael Saylor. He came out of the woodwork this year. They had $1 billion in their treasury, and he put 450 million of that straight into Bitcoin this year. His thesis being that the money, the dollars he's holding in his treasury is essentially a melting ice cube.
Listen, when paper is printable in perpetuity and not grounded to the gold standard or some other aspect, the thesis is not difficult to understand. I also think that people are bad at history. There was a time when people traded rocks and other things. You know, money, by governments is not a forever thing. And so people have come along and reinvented currency for a very, very, very long time. I am not educated enough to stand on a soapbox like I am in other things and go deep on this, but as a common sense human being, and that has been my North Star, and as one that believes that humans decide everything in collectives. There was a reason. Listen, I didn't have a lot of money when I bought Bitcoin back then. Like, I bought it for a reason. I didn't follow it through. I really, at least from a financial standpoint, would have benefited quite a bit from following it through. But the macro thesis of blockchain is very right.
Gary, Bitcoin or Ethereum?
Ethereum.
Why?
Because it's more of a platform than the singular brand. It's blockchain, then it's Ethereum, then it's Bitcoin. So I don't think people understand, right? It's like WordPress and Netscape Navigator or Yahoo.com. Bitcoin could win and could become a brand like a Nike and could be amazing and all that. But Ethereum is the infrastructure above, which you build on top of. Blockchain, bless you, blockchain is the most gangster shit going on, and I'll explain why. If you truly understand the chess moves of decentralizing everything, well then the whole damn world's on call. Governments included. Look, the blockchain is game-changing infrastructure. Cryptocurrency is like search engines. There's gonna be 1 billion that go to zero, and there'll be Google, and there'll be, Yahoo and Bing still work, by the way. And so whether Bitcoin is Google or Schmitcoin or Schmincoin or like Doge or Litecoin or whatever it may be, I have no idea. But blockchain's an incredible technology.
Bitcoin boom beating gold and silver. What does that mean? It means you better buy as much as you can now. The train is moving, the dollar is dying, silver is still affordable for everyone. And as the dollar crashes, what counts is not price, but how many coins of gold, silver, or Bitcoin do you own? I first started buying silver in 1964 when I was 17 years old. And the reason is I didn't know, I was a kid, a high school kid, and I saw this little copper tinge around the dimes and the quarters and the half dollars. I didn't know what that means, but there's a law called Gresham's Law. And Gresham's Law says there's something that we as human beings know what's real or fake. And apparently, as a kid, I kind of knew that anything with a copper tinge around the silver, the dime, quarter, or half dollar was fake. So I used to caddy for the golf. I played golf, so I caddied to make money to pay for my golf. And I would take my caddy money and I'd take it into the bank and I traded in for rolls of dimes, quarters, and half dollars, and I'd go through the coins. And if I saw anything with copper on it, I'd kick it back. and then I'd rewrap them and take it back to the bank with extra money. So I did that for about a year. I just kept collecting dimes, quarters, and half dollars. And I had this whole bag of what they call bulk silver today. But I just kind of knew it was fake. And then I went off to school in New York. And when I came home, my mother spent it. I got to Vietnam in January 1972, and as soon as I got there, my rich dad sent me a letter, but those was snail mail. I mean, it took a long time the mail to get to you. And he says, watch out. He says, the world's going to change. Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard. And I didn't even know what gold was because we weren't allowed to own gold. In 1933, I believe it was illegal for Americans to own gold. So I didn't know what gold was. So my co-pilot and I fly behind enemy lines because the North Vietnamese army had run south and the gold mine was in its way. So we're flying behind enemy lines, and that's when I started negotiating. Gold was at $35 an ounce in 1971. And by the time I got to the gold dealer at this gold mine, it was a little Vietnamese woman with red teeth. And I tried to buy gold from her at a discount. So I thought, well, it's $35 an ounce. It's $50 an ounce today because it was starting to rise. And she wouldn't move. She says, no, it's spot. Spot. I didn't know what spot meant. And here we are, my co-pilot and I were college graduates. And this little Vietnamese woman, I don't think she went to college, but she knew more about money than he and I did. But that was my introduction to gold. And I didn't buy any gold that day, but I let our aircraft carrier sailed into Hong Kong. And that's when I bought my first gold coin, a Krugerrand, for about $50. I still have that Krugerrand today, and it's worth approximately $2,000. So I don't save dollars because I don't trust the US dollar. And I just save gold and silver and recently Bitcoin. And the reason is because of 1971, when Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard, the dollar became fake. You know, they printed more money in 2020 than they did in the first 200 years of our country. And still people are saving dollars. You should be buying some gold, some silver, and you can afford it, Bitcoin. But the average person has been conditioned to think about paper, fake money, you know, fake dollars. At the same time, they're printing as much money as they possibly can. They give it to their rich friends. They don't give it to us. And then they print it and interest rates keep going down. So in 1974, when I got out of the Marine Corps, if I had $1 million, which I didn't, I could put $1 million in 74 into a savings and loan, a bank, in a certificate of deposit, and they would pay me 15% on my $1 million. So a lot of people have made a lot of money. They just put their money into the bank, and they're being paid 15% interest. So $1 million back in 74 was worth approximately $150,000. Now it's not a lot of money to retire on, but you could have retired on $150,000 in 1974. Today, I take $1 million into the bank, I might get 2%. So that means it went from $150,000 to $20,000. And after taxes, that $20,000 might be worth $15,000. In other words, since 1974, the US dollar has lost 90% of its value, and people still say to their kids, save money. You've got to be crazy. They're going to, now that the elections are over and all this, I don't care if it's Trump or Biden, they're going to have to print so much money just to pay for all of the social entitlement programs so people don't riot. They can't afford to have any more rioting. So they're going to print more and more money, and people are still saving dollars or yen or euro or pesos. Right now, you should be saving gold, silver, or Bitcoin. So I'm not saying Bitcoin, and people get into what I call pissing matches. Which is better, gold or Bitcoin? Who cares? The question is, how much do you have? That's all that counts right now. Because the reason you buy gold, silver, or Bitcoin is for the same reason. If you trust the US government or the central banks, the Fed, and Wall Street, then save money. But if you don't, then buy gold, silver, and Bitcoin. And the thing I like about Bitcoin is that I can run with it. It's just a number in my head. And my trouble with my gold and silver, I got so much of it, I have to lug it. It's hard to get it around. So when I started looking into Bitcoin, it was already starting to come up. So I started buying it around 9,000. And today I think it's around 15 or 16,000. I don't know what it is. I don't count that. I just count the number of coins I have. That's it. And I'm buying more. The reason I like gold, silver, and Bitcoin is this. The trouble with the US dollar, the more it drops in value, the more they print. Let me say that again. The US dollar, the yen, the peso, the euro, as it drops in value because interest rates keep dropping, they print more of it and people save it. Talk about losers. Get it through your head. They're printing it. It's getting worth, it's worth less and less and less. Whereas Bitcoin, the thing I like about it, because the more valuable, more expensive Bitcoin gets, they print less of it. It's called a halving. So the price goes up, but the quantity comes down. And check the dollar out. The value of the dollar comes down, but they print more of it. Why would you save it? But it's the same with gold and silver. So I like Bitcoin. I'm glad I bit the bullet at 9,000. It was hard because, gold was only about 1,800. So to buy Bitcoin was hard. But I'm glad I have it today. I'm still planning on buying more because I think, Bitcoin is probably going to go to $50,000. Gold's going to go to $15,000 and silver will probably go to $200. And you're going to buy it then?